Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, it's Maddie here. So, the Deluxe EX pack, the A4B mini set, is releasing tonight. With it, a whole bunch of reprints of all of the best cards in the history of Pokemon Pocket over this past year. They're coming. Now, what you might be surprised about is the handful of really strong meta-viable cards that are really important to your deck lists that is actually not going to be included in this set. So we're going to go over that today. What we're going to do in today's video is I am going to basically show you every top deck currently in the metagame, and we're going to see if you can build those decks using any of the cards or all of the cards that are being released in the Deluxe EX pack. We're going to talk about any of the cards that might be missing from this pack that you'll need to build those deck lists, which packs you can get those cards from, and what you really should be doing as maybe a new player or a returning player that is looking to come back into the metagame. Again, not every card is being reprinted in this set, and there are some missing cards, so that's where we're going to be going over in today's video. But before we do that, guys, I just want to talk about one thing in particular really quickly that is very, very important, and that is going to be our new tournament series, guys. That is right. The Pocket Mads Pocket Tournament Series is now officially begun, or it will, I guess, have officially begun this coming weekend. So Saturday is technically our second tournament, but it's the first of our weekly tournament series. We have a whole bunch of amazing news about this tournament series that I'm really, I guess, excited to showcase to you guys and to let you guys know. We'll cover that probably in a future video, but I do want to go ahead and give a shout out to this tournament. There's $100 in the prize pool. We're going to be casting it both on Saturday and on Sunday. It's going to be a whole bunch of fun. Stay tuned. We'll probably make a video, in the next upcoming days, I guess, talking about this tournament specifically, how to register, all of the information, about it. But I did just want to showcase it to you guys, let you guys know. Link to register will be down in the description. Again, I would highly recommend that you guys go play. We're really trying to make this the best competitive tournament environment in the game right now, and we're really looking forward to doing this on a weekly basis. So I would definitely recommend that you guys go check it out. Even if you've never played in tournaments before, I think this is going to be a really great opportunity to really dive in. We're trying to get this really established this month so that, next month when B1 comes out and the Mega Pokemon come out, and there's probably a lot more players interested in competing in Pokemon Pocket, we have this sort of tournament structure in this environment already, in place and set up. So go check it out. Big shout out to all of the judges, all of the admins, all of the people that are involved in making this happen. Again, it's been a massive team effort, but we'll give everybody their credit in a future video where we talk about this tournament specifically, but I did just want to go ahead and mention it. Go register. It starts this Saturday around noontime, I believe. Yeah, noon Eastern time. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Link to register will be down in the description below. All right, so let's get into it, guys. So here is the full set, right? This is Deluxe Pack EX. For those who haven't seen, this is the entire set release. There's over 350 cards reprinted in this set list. What's cool about this pack is that you're guaranteed to get a 4 diamond rarity card or higher, at least one every pack that you open. So it should be a great opportunity for people to really complete out their collection. For those players that, of course, missed out on maybe a couple expansions, I think this is going to be a really great opportunity for you. And here is the full set list. Every card is going to be released in this sort of reverse hollow foil pattern, which is cool. There's reprints of all of the normal Art EX cards. Again, Venusaur, Beedrill, Exeggutor. I mean, this is like basically almost every meta relevant card throughout the past year, which is really, really cool. Now, some of these cards that are pretty old, never really saw competitive play. So, there's going to be a few of those in this set, but all the way from Genetic Apex up till, some of the most recent expansions, this is the entire set release. It's a set list release. So I'm not going to go through everything because that would take a very, very long time. But lucky for you, I've already gone through all of this and I've picked out all of the cards that are missing from this set that see play in the most viable meta decks currently. So anyway, here is the full set list. You guys are probably interested in all of the new special art reprints, so here they are. A lot of really, really, really cool cards. I'm actually super excited about this. We will actually be going live tonight on YouTube and on Twitch for the set release. We'll be opening packs, updating our deck lists, basically hanging out, having a great time, and then we'll go live probably, in the next coming days as well for the ranked battles release, because we're going to be, trying to get a head start on our ranked battle climb, which is really cool. The immersive Pikachu I love. We are getting a Professor's Research. Now, the crown rare of the set is Rare Candy, so there's a lot of really interesting pull cards that people are going to be, very, very interested about. Shout out to Circle Circuit Pikachu. This card has been reprinted like 7 times. Yeah, there we go. Greninja full art. I'm super excited. But anyway, this is the entire set. A link to this this particular article or webpage will be also down in the description. So if you guys want to go through this yourselves, and these are all of the trainer cards, by the way. This is probably what we're going to talk about most heavily in this video. But anyway, link for this article for this webpage will be also down in the description if you guys want to go ahead and take a look at all of these cards yourselves. Now, let's go ahead and fast forward to all of the cards that I've found to be missing from all of the most viable competitive decks in the metagame right now. And here is most of them, I would say. So a couple of really standout examples being, of course, this Eevee, which is the Find a Friend Eevee, as opposed to the Collect Eevee. We'll talk about that later. Alolan Exeggutor, which is seeing play in the Exeggutor deck. Gladion is not in this reprint set. So Gladion is, of course, a staple for any Silvally card, and Silvally is in the mini set in this new Deluxe pack, so I don't know why they didn't add Gladion, but anyway, Gladion not in that set. Repel, all of the baby Pokemon. So the baby Pokemon, Mantike, Pichu, and Magby, but really any of the baby Pokemon, not just the energy accelerating ones, are not in this mini set. Things like Gyarados and Suicune, some really valuable water type cards that are seeing competitive success right now. None of the legendary beasts, or actually none of the cards in general from Secluded Springs, are being included in this set. So you're still gonna have to crack open Secluded Springs packs. Now there is a Wonder Pick, excuse me. There is a Wonder Pick event going on right now for a lot of the most recent best water type cards. Suicune, I believe, is in there. I think Gyarados might be as well. So for that Wonder Pick event, you can pick up the Suicunes, the Gyaradoses. Guzma is a really great example. One of the most meta relevant supporter cards not being reprinted in the set. We have, of course, the Decidueye and Dartrix cards here that I forget what set they were released on. We'll go into that later. But these cards are also missing specifically from this reprint set. Rampardos. That's right, guys. Rampardos, the absolute fighting GOAT himself, one of the strongest cards in the entire game, not being reprinted in this deluxe mini set for whatever the reason. So anyway, Rampardos, and then of course Sylveon, Espeon. These are non-EX cards that do see play sometimes in the Espeon EX deck, not being reprinted. Genetic Apex Flareon, right? So the non-EX Flareon, this typically sees play with Flareon EX to be kind of the main Oricorio counter, but the assist healing, so the other Flareon non-EX is in the mini set, but this version, the Flamethrower, is not going to be in this upcoming mini set. Pokemon Center Lady and Will, these are two cards that are actually, still see play in quite a bit of meta decks. They're also not being reprinted. So anyway, that's the full list. We'll go through it one by one, and we'll kind of talk about those cards specifically for the deck lists. But now let's dive into basically every competitive meta deck, and we'll talk about whether or not you can build them with all of the cards that are releasing in the, the A4B Deluxe mini set. So let's dive right in. The first deck that we're going to talk about is Exeggutor. So this deck is actually massively on the rise. This and Decidueye have been very, very valuable decks in the current metagame. They're uniquely well positioned just because grass type has so much sustain. It actually can kind of survive in the active spot just alone against Suicune very, very well. And then against Giratina and Darkrai, we're hitting for weakness on Darkrai, which is valuable, but also we have a lot of HP, so we're able to effectively, with both Exeggutor and Decidueye, which we'll cover later in this video, these grass type decks are just really uniquely well positioned against the top decks of the metagame, being Giratina, Darkrai, Suicune, and Guzzlord. So these are very relevant cards. These are very relevant decks currently in the metagame. Now, one thing I actually forgot to include in that list is this Execute, so the Growth Spurt Execute. If we go back here, and again, I forgot to add it to the list, but I probably should. The Seed Bomb Execute, which deals 20 damage. This is the one that is actually being reprinted, not the Growth Spurt Execute, which is definitely a big deal. So I'm actually going to go back to here real quick, and I'm just going to add, can I do this? Yeah, I got to zoom out, I believe. Here, let me add Execute to this list, because I forgot to add it. But we want the Growth Spurt Execute, so right here. So there we go, okay. Added to the list. So yeah, if we take a look at this Exeggutor deck, both of this Execute, which is a valuable card because we are playing Alolan Exeggutor, and Alolan Exeggutor is not being reprinted, right? So let's talk about this. So the Growth Spurt Execute did come out in Mythical Island, which is a set that not many people are really opening very often because there's not many meta viable cards in that set. So these cards, of course, you can trade for, but this Execute card is definitely going to be a lot better than the 20 damage one, specifically to get that extra energy to attack a turn earlier with Alolan Exeggutor. That definitely is going to be a big deal. So this Execute card is from Mythical Island. You're definitely going to want this if you're playing this deck list. My browser just broke for some reason. And then, of course, Alolan Exeggutor, which came out in A3, Celestial Guardians. This card is really, really strong when paired with Will, and this is a Will deck, so we'll talk about Will in a little bit. But Alolan Exeggutor from Celestial Guardians, this is a 3-diamond card, so it's a holo rare. Might be a little bit harder to pull from packs, but again, you could trade for it. A very valuable card in a lot of different decks right now, but specifically this Exeggutor deck. I guess that's really the only deck, but it's definitely still a valuable card. 150 damage is really strong. It's basically sort of the the counter option to Exeggutor EX to one-hit KO Pokemon, because Exeggutor EX doesn't do a whole bunch of damage. But of course, we are going to have to pair this with Will. So Will, of course, is a supporter card that came out recently in A4, Wisdom of the Sea and Sky. And this supporter card sees play in Guzzlord and also sees play in Exeggutor. I don't believe it sees play in really any other decks other than that, but again, it's not being reprinted, and this did come out in a more recent set. So if you're just now coming back to Pokemon Pocket, or if whatever the reason you don't have Will, you are going to have to either trade for this or pick this up for a number of different decks in this video that we're going to talk about. But Will here basically allows you to guarantee you flip heads on your turn when you play Will. And that's, of course, going to be really good for Alolan Exeggutor to guarantee the 150 damage, and it's also good for Guzzlord to guarantee that we're discarding energies. We'll talk about Guzzlord later in this video. The other thing to mention, of course, just as a general point here, is that they're not really reprinting. I guess to some degree they are, but they're not reprinting any of the yeah, they're not at all. They're not reprinting any of like the promo item cards, which is going to include things like Red Card, like Potion, mostly, I guess, is the most, those are really the only two examples. Pokeball is another one. So Pokeball, Potion, and Red Card, those are cards that never were released in booster packs. Fundamentally, I guess Pokeball was reprinted as a gold card in Shining Revelry, I believe, but those cards you can just get from the ticket shop, so they're not being reprinted, but I'm not really going to talk about them today because, you know, you can just sort of pick them up from the ticket shop, so keep that in mind. But anyway, 2 copies of Will, and 2 copies of Alolan Exeggutor, and 2 copies of Execute. Those are 2 cards, or 3 cards really, that are not coming in the premium mini set, so you're going to want to go ahead and make sure you get those cards if you want to play this deck. Guzma is another one. So Guzma sees play in almost every deck. It's a very, very valuable card. You can discard tool cards from your opponent. A card that is just not being reprinted for whatever the reason you really would think it would be. I'm pretty sure it's not. Yeah, it's not on this list. So, you know, RIP to Guzma. It's just not, it's not being reprinted. I don't know why. Guzma also came out in A3. So you're definitely going to want to pick up some copies of Guzmas for a variety of decks. This is definitely a very, very important card. And anyway, that's basically it. Now, there's really, you can replace Guzma in this list for sure. You could play really any other supporter card in place of Guzma. Maybe you could play 1 copy of Red, or maybe you could play like a Cyrus or a Sabrina. There's a lot of different supporter cards you could use in place of Guzma. And technically, you could use the other Execute instead of the Growth Spurt one, but it would make the deck definitely a little bit worse. And then, of course, Alolan Exeggutor in Will is kind of the core of the deck. So in order to play this deck list, you're going to have to find those cards elsewhere and build them. Okay. Next up is going to be just really any Silvally deck. We actually have 2 of them, I believe, in this video. Let me find the other ones. So there's 2 most prominent Silvally deck lists. Actually, there's 3, but we're going to talk about them, 2 of them in this video. One of them is going to be Silvally Zeraora. The other one is going to be Silvally and Rampardos. There's also Psychic type Silvally with Giratina, which is my favorite way to play it, but it's not necessarily considered to be a popular deck in the metagame. But Silvally, again, is being reprinted in this deluxe mini set, which is a really big deal because Silvally, I think, is one of the best cards in the entire game right now, and I will die on that hill. I think it's absolutely incredible. However, again, for whatever the reason, Gladion is not being reprinted alongside Silvally. So I would highly recommend that if anybody wanted to play Silvally decks, you kind of have to play it with Gladion. It's a card that is just meant to be played with Silvally. So you can get your type nulls and your Silvallis in, of course, this mini set, but you will have to just open up Extra Dimensional Crisis A3A. This is just a 2-diamond, you know, supporter card, but it's needed. It's needed for any Silvally deck, so keep that in mind. Everything else in this deck you are, of course, going to be able to get from the mini set, which is definitely a big deal. Zeraora type null Silvally. Professor's Research is the other promo card. So it is being reprinted technically as a full art, but it's not coming, I don't think. Is it? I don't believe it is, right? Yeah, you're going to have to get that also from the ticket shop. Professor's Research is technically like a shop promo. Again, really easy to acquire those cards, but just keep that in mind. Pokeball, Red Card, and Professor's Research. So those aren't technically being reprinted, but anyway. But yeah, everything else in this deck is coming, which is a big deal. Red and Mars and Sabrina and Cyrus, those are all coming and being reprinted. Rocky Helmet, and of course, actually, if we go back, I just want to showcase this. They did a really good job by printing all of the most relevant tool cards, which I'm really excited about. Electrical Cord, Giant Cape, Rocky Helmet, and Leaf Cape. These are really the only tool cards that see a ton of play. Poison Barb doesn't see a lot of play in really any of the meta decks right now, so this is all of the tool cards that sees play currently in the metagame. They're all being reprinted, which is definitely really nice that we don't have to go and search for those tool cards. We definitely appreciate that. Now let's talk about next Silvally and Rampardos, because like I said earlier, for whatever the reason, Rampardos as well as Cranidos and Skullfossil, the entire Rampardos line, not being reprinted in the Deluxe mini set. Why is that? I don't know. Maybe they just have a vendetta against the Rampardos. Who knows? Rampardos is one of the best cards ever in Pokemon Pocket. It definitely should have been included in the set. Who knows? They're reprinting Old Amber again for whatever the reason. It should have been Rampardos. Again, you're going to have to go ahead and find Rampardos. This is from Spacetime Smackdown. So it is sort of a 3-card combo. You need the Skull Fossil, which is a common card. You need Granidos, which is an uncommon card, or maybe even also a common. But you also need Rampardos, which is a holo card from Spacetime Smackdown. Rampardos is probably going to see play in a variety of fighting decks moving forward. It's just an incredible card that does 130 damage for 1 fighting energy. And with Rare Candy, we can get this thing set up and attacking on turn 2. It's just a really crazy card. But anyway, Rampardos not being reprinted. So if you wanted to play Silvally Rampardos, which is a fundamentally strong deck in the metagame and has been for months now, I would say that, of course, you can get any card in the set, but you'd need Gladions, of course, from Extra Dimensional Crisis, and you're going to need the Rampardos line from Spacetime Smackdown. So I wanted to mention that. Definitely Rampardos, very, very important card, not just in Silvally Rampardos, but in fighting decks in general. Although this is the only deck in the meta right now that is playing Rampardos. Fighting is definitely struggling a little bit. But yes, those are cards that are not coming in this mini set, which is surprising to me for sure. Next up is actually going to be kind of a new deck list. So Water is in a weird spot right now. In fact, the entire metagame as it pertains to Suicune is in a weird spot. I covered it recently, but in a recent 200-player online tournament, this deck list here, which was a very different Suicune deck, actually got first place. So I expect this deck to actually really pop back up into the metagame or pop up newly into this next season. I think it has a ton of potential. We'll talk about this deck in a future video in more detail, but a very, very fun creative deck and basically an alternate water deck strategy as opposed to Suicune and Greninja, which actually has been on the heavy decline over the last few weeks. I know a lot of people consider it to be the best deck in the game, but we've talked about it over the last week or so. It's actually on a very steep decline right now. So anyway, we'll cover Suicune and Greninja later, but this water type deck is something that, of course, I think will be relevant in the metagame, but we're missing quite a few cards from this particular deck, right? So this Gyarados here is not being reprinted. This is a very relevant card, I think. Gyarados is very underappreciated, and it'll likely see a lot more play in the coming times here, but this is also from Wisdom of Sea and Sky. So this Gyarados not being reprinted, you're going to have to get this from A4. Palkia is being reprinted. Now, Mantike and Suicune also not being reprinted. However, these are two cards that both came out in Secluded Spring, so they're from the most recent, pack. And none of the baby Pokemon are coming in the Deluxe set. So you're going to want all of them. So you're going to want to open A4 and A4A. Secluded Springs has Mantike, whereas Pichu and Magby are from A4. It's a little bit confusing, but Mantike specifically is from Secluded Springs, and of course, so is Suicune, also from Secluded Springs. So Suicune will continue to be very meta relevant. I wish this card specifically was reprinted in the Deluxe set. I understand why it wasn't, because it just came out in the previous set. You're definitely going to want Suicune. It's one of the best cards in the entire game, and Mantike is also a really, really strong card. All of the baby Pokemon are strong. This is just the water type Mantike. Now, Magikarp, Palkia, Manaphy, and all of the other cards in the set are being reprinted in the mini set, which is really good. However, Repel. So let's talk about Repel specifically, because Repel's not being reprinted. Now, Repel also came out in Extra Dimensional Crisis. So ED Crisis, A3A actually has a wide variety of cards that are very relevant still to the metagame. One of the best sets that's ever been released, but a lot of them are not getting reprints. Again, so Gladion is one of them, and Repel is one of them. Repel is seeing a ton of play. For those of you that don't know, Repel has actually commonly replaced Sabrina this season because most of the Pokemon that you're going up against are basic Pokemon like Suicune, like Giratina, Darkrai, or Choreo, things like that. Repel works extremely well to get around those cards. You basically are able to switch out your opponent's active basic Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon. Repel is going to see play in a ton of different decks, at least it is right now, and it'll probably continue to see play, unless maybe when B1 comes out, there's a lot of evolution Pokemon decks. But anyway, currently, this season, Repel is very, very strong. It came out in ED Crisis. It's just a 2-diamond card, but again, it's not being reprinted, so you're definitely going to want a couple copies of Repel for your collection, so keep that in mind. But everything else in this water-type deck you can get. The water stuff's going to be difficult. Again, Suicune not being reprinted, none of the baby Pokemon being reprinted, so you're going to want to keep that in mind. That's definitely going to be on the list of the stuff that you're going to want to acquire. Again, Mantike, Pichu, Magby, Gyarados, Suicune, all of these Pokemon. These are all things that are not being reprinted that you're definitely going to want to add to your collection that are, of course, in all of these meta decks. Next up, though, let's talk about Buzzwole. Buzzwole got off a little bit easy, I would say. Everything in Buzzwole is being reprinted, and I think that's a really big deal. The only exception to that is Guzma. Again, I don't know why they didn't include Guzma in the set. Guzma came out in A3, just to reiterate. Guzma sees playing a ton of different decks. Now, again, we can replace Guzma in this deck list with, I guess, really red or really anything. Typically, you would replace Guzma with red, just because they typically have a very similar effect. Guzma can remove a giant cape, which you know, it basically is like dealing 20 extra damage. Guzma is typically better in a lot of scenarios, but you could just replace Guzma with a lot of different things. But everything else in the set is being reprinted. Lusamine, Cyrus, Erica, Mars, Rocky Helmet, Giant Cape, all of the Pokemon as well. Pheromosa, Buzzwole, and Celesteela are being reprinted in the set, which is a big deal. So Buzzwole should be one of the more easy decks for people to build. Again, you really can swap Guzma with anything. I would say probably just one copy of Red, or I mean, honestly, it doesn't really matter. You could change this to any supporter card that provides value. But anyway, basically this entire deck can be built with all of the cards being reprinted in the next Deluxe set, which is definitely a pretty cool thing. But anyway, there's Buzzwole. Pretty cool that we got all of those cards reprinted, which we love to see. Next up is Decidueye. So we were talking about Alolan Exeggutor and Exeggutor EX. This is basically kind of like the same deck, but instead of playing Exeggutor, we're playing like Decidueye. It's definitely a different deck list, but functionally it operates kind of in the same position of the metagame. A very unique card here. Again, it benefits from the same type of things, being a ton of HP, being able to survive solo in the active spot with Leaf Cape, with Lily, with Erica's. Everything in this deck is actually pretty much being reprinted, with the exception, of course, of this Decidueye from, again, you guessed it, Extra Dimensional Crisis. This Decidueye is seeing play mainly because if we go up against Oricorio, we have no way of beating Oricorio. So this Decidueye is actually really important to the deck list. Again, mostly just because I don't know why this keeps it yells at me whenever I go back. But anyway, one copy of Decidueye in this deck list. It's really just there for Oricorio. And then this Dartrix, like I said. So they are reprinting a Dartrix. So I would say that this one specifically from ED Crisis is better because of the skill dive ability. You're able to deal damage to any Pokemon on the board instead of just the active. I would definitely recommend having this Dartrix for your deck. So again, this Dartrix and the non-EX Decidueye came out in ED Crisis. That's another set that people are probably going to have to continue to open for Gladions, for Repels, for this Decidueye and Dartrix combination as well. But just keep that in mind. Those are cards that I definitely think make the deck a lot better, but everything else we're covered, right? Rare Candy, Iono, Mars, Erica, Lily, Leaf Cape, Rocky Helmet, Pokecom, Red Card, and Pokeball again from the ticket shop. Everything else from the set, though, is being reprinted. This Rowlet and Decidueye EX also being reprinted in Deluxe EX. So, yeah, I think Decidueye will continue to be very relevant. It actually got first place again at a pretty recent large online tournament. I think it will continue to be relevant throughout this meta. A really, really fun deck. I love Decidueye. Again, if you wanted to play this deck, I would definitely recommend playing one of the non-EX Decidueye so that you don't auto-lose to Oricorio. Very, very important. So we're going to go ahead and just mention here also Dartrix would be like an upgrade. The Dartrix thing is similar to like, I would say the Execute that we talked about with the Alolan Exeggutor deck. Now, a lot of times we rare candy and we get around this Dartrix, so it's really not as big of a deal as Execute was in the Exeggutor deck, but Decidueye definitely a big deal. So there you go. Only a couple of cards here missing from Decidueye, which is pretty good, honestly. Next up, we're going to talk about just Lightning decks in general. For anybody that has or hasn't kept up with the metagame this season, Lightning decks are of a massive variety this season. There's just so many combinations. Really, like, there's just a massive handful of Lightning type cards that are all really strong. This is just one example of the Lightning deck that I think has been doing the best recently. This is going to be the Pikachu EX Toolbox deck. We'll cover this in a later video as well. Also kind of a new deck, so we haven't actually talked about it very much. But the upside to the Lightning type is, again, that basically all of the best Lightning type cards are being reprinted. If we go back to the set list and we go up to the Lightning type cards, you'll be pleasantly surprised to see that both Pikachus are being reprinted. You know, the Magnemite, Magnezone line is being reprinted, even Zapdos and Lantern, Pachirisu, Oricorio, Tapu Koko, Zeraora. Basically everything is being reprinted in the set, which is very, very good, very relevant. I'm really happy about that. But as, of course, you'll notice here, Pichu's not being reprinted. It is one of the baby Pokemon. Now, Pichu came out in A4 alongside Magby. Like I said, Mantite came out in A4A. But Pichu and Magby came out in A4. None of the baby Pokemon being reprinted. And they do see a lot of play. So, you know, if you're watching this video, if you're new to the game, or if you're just curious, the baby Pokemon are definitely relevant. And I think they will continue to be relevant when B1 comes out next set, when we get the Mega Pokemon. I think all of the baby Pokemon are going to be very important. So over the last two expansions, definitely try to collect all of the baby Pokemon that you can. But Pichu is in this deck list, but everything else is being reprinted, which is definitely really nice. Again, Guzma is still in here. Like I said, a lot of decks play one copy of Guzma. You could swap this out for Red. That's my #1 example, but Again, you're going to want Guzma. It's just a really strong card. Elemental Switch and Electrical Cord, which Electrical Cord is not in this deck, but it's a very strong Lightning type card, is being reprinted, and Elemental Switch also, I believe, being reprinted, unless I forgot that. Let me double check. It is a very big deal. Elemental Switch is a broken card and is seeing a whole bunch of play. So shout out to, Elemental Switch and this deck, basically everything other than the Pichu and the Elemental Switch. Could you replace the Pichu? You could. Theoretically speaking, Zero Aura does operate pretty similarly. I think this deck list definitely wants another lightning type Pokemon. So whether or not, you're playing Pichu or just, I guess, a different card, I would recommend you have Pichu just because, Pokemon Pocket right now, and especially these lightning decks, it's so important to have a strong leadoff option that, you want something like a Pichu in the deck, even if it's only one copy. There's really no replacement for Pichu. But yeah, I mean, technically you could just play any other lightning type Pokemon in place of Pichu. Theoretically, the deck would still function, but I would definitely recommend getting your Pichu for sure. But yeah, Oricorio, Zero Aura, Pikachu EXs, Tapu Koko as well, all being reprinted. Magnezone is another one, even though Magnezone's not seeing a lot of play this metagame. It is a very relevant card, and it is being reprinted. Everything else in the set, even Silver, Mars, Cyrus, Silver, everything being reprinted. Really, really good stuff. So anyway, next up, let's talk about Sylveon Espeon, another deck that actually did pretty well in terms of being able to build this deck with all of the new cards coming in the Deluxe mini set. Excuse me. Sylveon, Espeon EX, Eevee EX, all cards that are being reprinted. Cyrus, Repel, again, Pokeball, Research, Red Card, you can get those from the ticket shop. Eevee Bag is being reprinted, which is really good. Giant Cape as well. Now, again, Repel from a 3A. Another card that just sees a ton of play this format. You're going to have to pick it up if you don't have it. It's from Extra Dimensional Crisis. But the other cards here that we mentioned, right, is this Eevee, right? So it's a little bit confusing, but there are two really strong Eevee cards, but one is just theoretically better, and that is the Find a Friend Eevee. So Find a Friend Eevee allows you to search for a Pokemon from your deck and put it into your hand, but there is an Eevee that's being reprinted. It is just not the Find a Friend Eevee, it's the Collect Eevee, which is also a good card. It just draws a card instead of drawing specifically a Pokemon. Most decks would definitely prefer to have the Find a Friend Eevee, so this card also came out in A4. Just another card that I would definitely recommend. There's a variety of Eevee decks in the format, and all of the Eeveelution decks are pretty strong, so I would definitely recommend getting 2 copies of this Eevee here, just because it's going to make your deck better, and I would definitely suggest it specifically for the Sylveon decks, but really in any Eeveelution deck, it's probably better to have the Find a Friend Eevee, so keep that in mind. They're not reprinting it, but the other one is also fine. Sylveon, Espeon EX, both being reprinted now. Sylveon, as well as the non-EX Espeon, if we go back to this, neither of these are being reprinted. So both of these cards are definitely really good. They see play sometimes in Espeon Sylveon. This deck list example that I pulled up now is not playing the Espeon. It's just playing the non-EX Sylveon. This card did come out in Eevee Grove alongside, I believe, Sylveon EX, but it's just not being reprinted again for whatever the reason. So I would definitely recommend it. Again, it's really your only option to get around Oricorio. So if you're playing Espeon and Sylveon, I would highly recommend that you do pick up this Sylveon non-EX copy, similar to Decidueye, but this one is from Eevee Grove, which was the set after Extra Dimensional Crisis, I believe. So yeah, I would definitely recommend picking up the Sylveon. Again, Eevee EX being reprinted, everything else being reprinted other than Repel. So keep that in mind. Repel, as well as the Sylveon, and also the other Espeon. I think you also get the Espeon from Eevee Grove. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it also came out in Eevee Grove. It's not as needed, I don't think, as the non-EX Sylveon. But yeah, Espeon Sylveon actually did pretty good for the reprints. All I would recommend is definitely picking up this Sylveon here, and then, of course, the upgraded Eevee. Next up is Giratina Darkrai. Yeah, let's go. So what's actually really interesting, and a lot of people are hyped about it, if we go back, where is it? Yeah, if we go back here, Giratina Darkrai actually are the only 2 shiny Pokemon in this set. They knew what they were doing. 100% they knew what they were doing. Giratina EX is getting a shiny Pokemon, and Darkrai EX is getting a shiny Pokemon. These are the only 2 shinies from this 350 card set. I don't know how rare it's going to be to pull these, but for those people who do get 2 copies of both of these cards, congrats to you, and you can play Giratina Darkrai until, you're blue in the face, I suppose. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to mention that they're getting really cool shiny reprints. They're not getting this art variant, neither Giratina nor Darkrai are, but they are getting normal art reprints, right? So if you don't have either of these cards, by the way, Giratina is the best card in the history of Pokemon Pocket, and Darkrai is potentially also right there next to Giratina. 2 incredible cards. They all are getting normal art reprints, so keep that in mind. But yeah, basically everything from this set is being reprinted, other than a couple of things that we've already talked about. Guzma is one of them. Repel is one of them. Again, to reiterate, Guzma came out in A3, Celestial Guardians, and again, let me refresh, geez Louise, and then Repel came out, of course, in Extra Dimensional Crisis. However, one thing that we haven't actually mentioned yet is Pokemon Center Lady. That's right. Pokemon Center Lady is a healing supporter card that actually is seeing a lot of play in this meta, and it is not being reprinted in this deluxe pack, which is a surprise to me because it's definitely a very valuable card. It's really the best way to heal that's not type specific to things like Irida or Erica's, which are being reprinted. Pokemon Center Lady came out in Shining Revelry, which is A2B. Interesting that basically nothing else from Shining Revelry that's relevant is not being reprinted other than Pokemon Center Lady. So from this set, at least particularly from Shining Revelry, it does seem that Pokemon Center Lady is kind of the only card that we're missing from the reprints. But a very relevant card. It sees play in Giratina Darkrai, also sees play in Guzzlord. Might see play in future decks as well, but we'll have to see for sure. Definitely a card that you're going to want in Giratina Darkrai. It's pretty valuable alongside Potion. Again, Potion from the ticket shop, Rocky Helmet, Giant Cape are being reprinted. Sabrina, Cyrus Red, Mars, Leaf, all being reprinted, right? So really the only things here are Guzma, Repel, and Pokemon Center Lady that you're going to need for Giratina and Darkrai. Luckily, with these cards are being reprinted both as shinies and non-shiny variants. So if you're new to the game or whatever, Giratina Darkrai, if you're a new player, is the best deck in the history of Pokemon Pocket. It's just stuck around for the longest. It's been very relevant. Giratina EX is the best Pokemon of all time by, I think, a pretty wide measure. He is him. Giratina is him. And Darkrai is also him. So they're both they, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, they're both being reprinted. So here you go. Giratina Darkrai actually does pretty well. You can build basically this entire deck pretty easily with only reprints, which we love. Next up is going to be Flareon. Flareon is also, this is Turbo Flareon, has been a very relevant deck for a couple of months now, for the last few seasons. Again, this is a deck that has a couple of gaps in here, right, that are going to be very crucial to the deck. So keep in mind, Magby is another one. This is another one of the baby Pokemon, similar to Pichu, similar to Mantike. This one came out in Wisdom of Sea and Sky in A4. Very, very important to Flareon, and probably will be important to other Fire-type decks in the future as well. This is a card that's not being reprinted, so you're definitely going to want to go to A4 and get all of your baby Pokemon, Magby for sure, if you wanted to play Flareon. Now, Flareon EX is being reprinted. Of course, the one Find a Friend Eevee. Eevee EX is being reprinted, but again, the Collect Eevee is the one that's being reprinted in this mini set, but Find a Friend is the better one. We already talked about that. Next up is the non-EX Flareon. So again, just like we've talked about in the other decks, this is the card that we're playing to be able to KO or Choreo, because it's the only attacking Pokemon in the deck that's not an EX Pokemon. So again, very important to the deck list. But one thing to note is that Genetic Apex Flareon here from the Charizard pack, Flamethrower, for 3 energies we do 110. This card is not being reprinted. There is another Flareon that's being reprinted, but it's not this one. So that, again, this might be a little bit confusing to people. This is going to be the Assist Healer card. So Assist Healer Flareon is not bad. In fact, it's actually a pretty strong card, but it does 40 damage, and that is just not something we can really deal with. We need to be able to KO Oricorio very easily. So although this is a good card, it just doesn't really function that well in Flareon. We would rather play the Genetic Apex Flareon. That way we can actually just KO the Pokemon that we want to. So this is a card that's not being reprinted. You're going to have to go pick it up. OG from way back in the day, Charizard pack, Genetic Apex, A1, this Flareon right here. Very, very good card in Flareon. Again, we are playing Guzma and Repel. So again, these are just 2 cards that are meta staples that are not being reprinted. So we've said that a bunch of times. Guzma, Repel from A3, from A3A. You're going to want these cards. Magby as well from A4. So keep that in mind. You are going to be able to build most of Flareon, but these are very critical cards. We cannot really replace Flareon or Magby with really anything. You might be asking, can we just play like another non-EX fire type attacker? You can, but there's really not that many options. It's better to play this Flareon because it's not a basic Pokemon, so that we're always leading off with the same Pokemon that we want to, and then we can choose to just evolve again into a Flareon just like we normally do. But whether or not we're going up against Oricorio or not, I would highly recommend that if you wanted to play Flareon EX, you should be playing it with this Flareon. And of course, Magby. There's no alternative to Magby. You're going to need it for Flareon. But anyway, that is that deck. Next up is Suicune Greninja. So again, this is the kind of the de facto #1 deck this season, although I don't think it's the best deck right now to play. It is the most played deck, and luckily, basically everything in the set is being reprinted. Shout out to Greninja, which is getting a reprint, but unfortunately, like I said, Suicune. So, none of the legendary beasts are being reprinted. Raikou does see a little bit of play in the metagame, even though we didn't talk about it in today's video, but Suicune EX definitely will continue to see a lot of play, so you're going to have to open up the A4A packs, Secluded Springs, if you want to get your Suicune EXs. A very, very strong card not being reprinted. Again, kind of makes sense because You know, it just came out in the previous set. But Irida is being reprinted. Cyrus, Mars, Rare Candy, and then of course this deck does play one copy of Repel. X-Speed is also a promo pack shop card, right? So Pokeball, Research, Red Card, X-Speed, those are promo shop cards. You should be able to acquire them very easily. Giant Cape is being reprinted. So yeah, it's interesting that you can actually build all of Suicune pretty easily just using all of the cards that are reprinted in the premium set, just without Suicune. So that's obviously a caveat. We can't play this deck without Suicune. It is sort of the face of the deck list. So yeah, there you go. I just wanted to mention it. Yeah, everything else is being reprinted basically. So that's definitely pretty relevant. Lastly, let's talk about Guzzlord. This is another deck that luckily is also being reprinted for the most part. But as we see here, 2 copies of Pokemon Center Lady, like I said, from Shining Revelry, needs to be reprinted. Again, my browser's not going to like me hitting the back button for some reason. Will is another one. Again, Will came out in A4. This is another card that is not being reprinted that is very important to Guzzlord. Repel is another one. Just Repel is in every deck, basically. But everything else. So Lusamine, Cyrus, Mars, Red, everything else being reprinted. So you can build a lot of the decks in this video. I know some definitely have some caveats. Again, I'll go back to this list of cards. This would be you can screenshot this, you can do whatever. I don't really know what to tell you, but this right here is kind of the collection of cards that I would go for currently in the metagame, just based off cards that are not being reprinted that are, you know, commonly played in the top meta decks right now. So again, Find a Friend Eevee. I'll zoom in again. Let me zoom back in. Find a Friend Eevee, Alolan Exeggutor, Gladion, Repel, Mantike, Pikachu, and Magby. This Gyarados card is, you know, maybe it sees play, maybe not, but it has recently. Suicune, a big one. Guzma, a big one. Decidueye, specifically in Dartrix for the Decidueye deck if you wanted to play it. Rampardos, which again isn't seeing play in a lot of decks right now, but is a very good card. You should definitely try to pick up this if you can from A2. Sylveon and Espeon, specifically for the Sylveon Espeon deck. That is, of course, going to be from Eevee Grove. Pokemon Center Lady from Shining Revelry. Genetic Apex Flareon from the Charizard pack. Will from A4, and then Execute from Mythical Island, right? So a couple of really kind of random cards from a variety of different expansions. I don't know why none of these cards were included in the reprint, but I wanted to make this video specifically to help new players that wanted to, of course, come back to the game, or new players that have never played the game before who are opening up a bunch of packs from this new reprint set and looking to build all of the meta decks. That's really what this video is all about. I feel like I mentioned that a bunch of times, but just to reiterate, that's what we've talked about for the last 35 minutes. If you didn't know what was going on, that's what's going on. Hopefully this video was helpful to you guys. Comment down below, let me know. We will be going live on Twitch and YouTube tonight for the set release, which I'm really excited about. But not only that, we will be probably doing a members only live stream. So for the channel members and the subscribers over on Twitch, we're going to be doing a little small tight-knit live stream where we hang out directly and we have a good time. And we're going to be doing that a little bit before the official stream for the set release, which is, you know, in the middle of the night tonight. So most people probably won't be awake for that, but if you are going to be awake for that, definitely come on and have a good time. It's going to be fun. We're going to crack a bunch of packs and hopefully we open a bunch of really cool cards. I'm really excited about it. All right, guys. That's the video. Again, big shout out to the tournament series that is going to be starting up soon. A big thanks to everybody that's reached out to me to make this happen. We're going to try to make this weekly, and we're going to try to make it as great as we possibly can. I would highly recommend that you guys go register. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, and again, we're going to be doing it on a weekly basis. We're also going to be having like a series like leaderboard, so depending on how you place in all of these tournaments, you get like a certain amount of points, and then Limitless here, the tournament platform, is actually going to keep track of all of your cumulative points throughout the season. So we're going to have like a kind of like there's like a ranked ladder leaderboard. There's going to be like a tournament series leaderboard, which is really, really fun. And again, $100 in the prize pool. We are going to be doing best of 3 this entire tournament. That way it can be streamed. But this is the prizing structure. First place gets 50, second place gets 30, third and fourth place get $10 each. We don't have a sponsor yet. If you're watching this video and you want to sponsor the tournament series, please reach out to me. Go and check out the Discord. That's really where we have all of the information as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. I got nothing else to say. Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. There was probably some decks that we didn't cover in this video. We'll cover them later on, but I just wanted to cover all of the most played, most relevant decks in the metagame and how to build them using, of course, all of the new cards coming in the Premium EX mini set. I'm really excited. I actually really am. There's a lot happening this month. The tournament series, hopefully a bunch of new players come back to the game. I know the ranked season might be a little bit dull with all of the cards kind of being the same, but the meta is actually developing pretty drastically. We'll cover that in the upcoming days. Yeah, that's it, guys. That's the video today. I don't really know how to end it. Like and subscribe. Have a good one. We'll see you guys later, and peace out. Bye.